I start by thanking CEDA for hosting a luncheon in a topic which is of such strategic importance for South Australia. It's a topic that, as we've heard from the previous two speakers, will impact not just our lives, but the lives of generations of South Australians to come. I want to reflect a bit on what the university's take on this area might be and the directions that we think we need to take. Universities are strange things. They have persisted for now about 1,000 years. And there's all sorts of reasons why that might be. My wife says it's because we're the most effective dating agencies that humans have ever invented. Regardless of that, we're in fact institutions. And as such, we're arguably charged with the long-term view. I could give you a list of things we're doing at the moment, and we will do what's required of us. We'll adapt our programs, we'll adapt our research to meet the needs of industry for the moment, for defence in the short term. But we are also committed to thinking through how we help South Australia to grasp the broader opportunity, the opportunity to reinvent itself for the long term, and in particular, the opportunity to create new chances for our young people. Now, I'm going to start with an anecdote which interested me. I had to my house for dinner recently the former provost of Stanford University. He was the provost there for a long time. And many of you will know that Stanford is unequivocally one of the world's great institutions. It's usually ranked in the top 3 or 4 in the world. But it didn't used to be. It used to be a very good university that was based largely around agriculture and engineering. And we got onto the topic of what was it that had transformed Stanford from a genuinely good university to a really great university. And he reckoned that there were really 2 things that happened. One was that the university had the guts to identify a small number of priority areas that it would focus on, that it would become famous at, and that it would invest behind. And the second thing was that as they made that set of decisions, there was a wave of defence spending that washed across that part of California. And it was putting together that capital spend with the strategic focus of the institution that let Stanford rise to the remarkable position that it occupies now. But as that wave of innovation and capital washed over the top of that university, what came out the other side was also Silicon Valley, which in effect paid back in jobs and economic return the value of all of that investment many times over. It was the alignment of capital through defence funding with innovation and smart people that led to the prosperity that now drives that region of America, with California, of course, being a major economy just of its own. Now, that story about matching defence spending with future-facing industries, because of course Silicon Valley is partly about defence, but mostly not about defence, that story is not restricted to Stanford and California. You can see it just down the coast in San Diego. You can see it across other parts of America. You can see it across continental Europe. It's a tried and tested way of reinventing economies that used to be based around manufacturing. And of course, here in Adelaide, the factors are converging that give us exactly that same opportunity to create something wonderful for this state. We've heard about $190 billion planned for upcoming investment in defence projects. We've heard that, particularly because of the efforts of Minister Pyne, $90 billion of that is likely to be spent here in South Australia or associated with South Australia. And you can start to see national interest turning to this state. I was joking this morning with the Minister and others that we at the university this morning were infested with ministers. We had an announcement of our own, a partnership with the French company Dassault Systems, who are moving an office to the University of Adelaide, where we had Minister Pyne, Minister Ridgway and Minister Pisoni. At exactly the same time on our Waite campus, we had Minister Birmingham, Minister Cash and the Chief Scientist, Dr Finkel, who were announcing, as I understand it, the nation's major investment in research infrastructure to keep the research pipeline strong here. Now, as I said at the time, we're always happy to welcome ministers at the University of Adelaide. We know that where ministers come, good news follows very quickly. But it was interesting to think about how those 2 events came together and what they talked about. Because as we see it, they celebrate the interface between higher education and socio-economic progress, where smart people, innovation and technology come together with industry need and social aspiration. On the Waite, we're really talking about support for existing industries, 2 wonderful industries, agriculture and winemaking. Two industries which are not in existence in South Australia because we've got a lot of land. They're in existence in South Australia because we were at the forefront of applying technology to agriculture and to wine. And from that came two wonderful South Australian industries. And at the North Terrace campus, we were talking about the future-facing industries of the state, founded on defence investment. At the heart of both existing and future industries, the application of knowledge to social betterment. And at the foundation of that, partnership. Partnership between federal, state, government, university and companies such as Dassault. On the global stage, partnerships between countries like Australia and France. So we have the opportunity to do this. And of course, we're a state that has always had the confidence to be visionary. The very creation of South Australia was an experiment in trying to do something unique. The trick is to leverage the defence funding, as the Californians did so well, not just to create defence technologies, but to apply those technologies to other areas of human endeavour. As we develop things like artificial intelligence, machine learning, big data capabilities, cybersecurity and the like, people will be able to find unexpected applications in areas like healthcare, aged care, energy, agriculture and biotechnology. The formation of new businesses we haven't even thought of yet. To do it, we will need an innovation ecosystem to establish the framework for those technologies we have developed for defence to grow into new industries and businesses. It will be well known to this audience that the University of Adelaide sees a particular opportunity to put at the heart of this the old Royal Adelaide Hospital site, right in the heart of our beautiful and livable city. To build an ecosystem that's not owned by the government and certainly not owned by the University of Adelaide, but an ecosystem that creates a future for South Australia. An ecosystem that has at its heart innovation and entrepreneurship, but which is linked more broadly through the state, perhaps to Mawson Lakes and to Tonsley, to create a statewide innovation system that can lead to jobs right throughout the state. And an ecosystem that is founded on the amenity of one of the world's most livable cities, improved by the Premier's vision to enhance the cultural amenity of the site through the creation of a new cultural precinct adjacent to what we're talking about. Culture, smart people and innovation go hand in hand. That's what you'll find in San Francisco or Seattle or San Diego or Boston or Berlin. So it's a wonderful story that we have the chance to tell if we get it right, coupling the needs and aspirations of society with defence innovation to bring about social betterment. If all we get for $90 billion is $90 billion worth of submarines and frigates and a workforce that is employed for 10 to 20 years, then we will have failed. But if we can get $90 billion worth of reinvention of this state around advanced manufacturing, high-value, future-facing jobs, things that will not just keep our young people in this state but draw other young people to this state, then we're onto something that really matters. We've just had graduations at the University of Adelaide, and I was talking to the father of one of our recent outstanding young graduates at the lunch that follows graduation. He told me his son had studied computer science, and I was impressed. He said he'd specialised in machine learning, where the University of Adelaide's very strong, and I said, well, that's great. Those people are in incredible demand across the world. He must have really good job prospects. And he said, yes, he's 3 months since he left the university, and he's now working for Google in Silicon Valley. And as a Vice-Chancellor, on the one hand, I felt proud because we're training kids to the standard that's needed to get the best jobs in the world. But as I said to his father, we will have succeeded when he doesn't have to go to Silicon Valley to get that job, but can get it right here in Adelaide. Thank you.